let's call it marketing events, marketing moments. These are very, very high volumes that are being generated. So what do we do with that? Those type of data we can use to move people through the funnel. And that's what obviously marketing is all about. There's the funnel, there's the awareness bit, there's the preference bit, there's the conversion bit. And so these moments that are being generated by people, by interacting, by sharing, by doing things, are actually opportunities for us. Because each moment is part of a bigger journey. So we just looked at the video, and this was a journey of selling a pregnant lady. She's going through a journey, and it takes 9 months. Lots of stuff happens in those 9 months. So there's dreaming, discovering, learning, comparing, researching, socializing, finding, acting. These are all moments. But obviously, with digital advertising, with our technologies, you can turn it into an opportunity. So this is what the opportunity is about. You can turn these moments into opportunities. So there's, again, awareness opportunities, preference opportunities, conversion opportunities. Okay, so, and I think we've heard this already a few times this afternoon, but things are getting faster and faster and faster and faster, and this is very important. We all know about the iPhone growth. The tablet growth is 3 times faster. So already in the Netherlands, 30% of people have a tablet. Who has one? You all have a tablet? So 2 years ago, it was only 4%. 2 years ago. Now, who had a tablet 2 years ago? Now, 3 years ago, who had a tablet? Right, so the tablet, you guys were lucky because it was introduced 23rd of July. So, you guys were really, really early. Before that, there were no tablets, they didn't exist. So that's the tablet growth, and then obviously, and this is one that you can imagine we're proud of, the Android growth is 4 times faster than the iPhone growth. That's the acceleration of pace. This is very important to understand. Android, last week we announced already hit 1 billion. There's 1 billion people that use Android. So you might say, okay, well, speed, important, great, but so why would we care? Why do we care about all the speed and changes in user behavior and digital technology? Well, the simple reason is profit. So, and this is what Capgemini had figured out. They calculated that if you are successful in 2 axes, one is transformation, management intensity, and the other one is digital intensity. If you're successful, you're in that top quadrant, you have 26% more chance of, or actually higher profits than the companies that are in the other quadrants. So all of this together obviously means that you've got to be really ready for good performance marketing today, tomorrow, and God knows if you can keep up, but then the day after tomorrow, you can be in the top quadrant. So how do you get there? Now, from our perspective, there's 3 ways you can future-proof your performance marketing. The first one is all screens, and I'll talk more about it. The second one is be always open, and the third one is audience engaged. Now, because it's coming from Google, of course, there's also what we believe is the aspect of attribution and measurement. This is in our genes, and I think it's probably for you guys as performance marketers in your genes as well. So that comes across all of these. So here you see the model, so all screens, audience engaged, always open, and then the attribute and measure. This is how we believe you can be successful in this always connected world. So the first one, all screens. Again, we've seen some great presentations already this afternoon on this. It's incredibly important to be optimized for all screens. You don't want to miss out, I guess, on people that are actually browsing on their tablet or on their mobile while they're interested in your products or interested in buying. But guess what? There are actually no less than 43% of top brands that don't even have a mobile website. This is very hard to believe, but it's true. It's still there. Realizing that 45% of consumers actually research on their phone while they're shopping. So in a physical store, they're still using their mobile phone. And 20% of the people actually change their mind because of it. So it's incredibly important to be there with the right information, in the right format, and make it accessible for people. So the second one is always open. And this is also based on consumer behavior. So this is behavior that we're tracking. So what you're seeing here is the amount of people that use one of the three, the desktop, the tablet, and the mobile phone, during the day. Obviously, during the night, it's pretty low. Then during the day, lots of desktop, lots of people are working, and then in the evening, you see this tablets spiking. The other thing is what we see is that also mobile phones are not just during the day, it's also in the evenings at home that people use their mobile phones. Now, why is this important? You've got to make sure that you're always accessible, you're always open. You can't be closing around 6 o'clock. And there's still a lot of companies that have an old style of behavior that actually their online situation is not geared to being open. It could mean, for example, that in your AdWords account you already are spent for the day, and then you're missing out on all of that traffic. Then the next one is what we call audience engaged. And this is all about coming up with the best advertising that you can get for a particular target. Now, how do you do that? So the insight comes from that people actually typically do not buy in their first session. So in fact, there's more than half of them that do it in sessions that are happening later on. So this is a very important insight. So it actually doesn't mean that you need to track that session. You need to follow that person in order to maximize the impact at the lowest cost. So Kellogg's is a good example for that. Kellogg's actually started using contextual, demographic, and behavioral data, layered it all on top of it, and they actually had a 5 times uplift by using those signals. In general, by using audience signals, our experience is that you can actually get a 5 to 10% response rate increase. So back to Sally. Again, it takes 9 months. There's lots of moments that matter where she's actually engaged with her newborn, even if it's not there yet. And in those many months, many products will be bought. So one of the insights, and this is not new for marketers, is that you should start very early engaging with the consumer. So, for example, if Sally buys a stroller, why not at a later stage come up with recommendations to buy other products? And why not do that as a second instance at a moment that she's actually in a totally different mindset and browsing and asking questions and just learning about pregnancy? And why not layer on top of that social signals? Why not make sure that if there are recommendations from friends or family, that they actually show up at the right time and at the right place? So this is the audience engagement that we recommend you work on. So how do we go about that? Well, the first one is targeting existing customers. So you have your customers to your website. Obviously, or maybe not obviously, but you can actually target them later on while they're surfing on the internet. Start with collecting and segmenting your own data. You've got a very clear view and opinion on who are your customers, what do they look like, what different categories are they in. And then on top of that, you can use Google data to augment that. That's step one. Step two is actually go to prospects. So expand it to potential visitors. So this is when you start layering on top of that the contextual, the demographic, and the behavioral data. And the last one, which is a little bit more advanced, is actually leveraging third-party data on top of that. So you build it even further out. Then there is attribute and measure. Again, this is where you can be very passionate about. So how do you go about that? Well, the first one is kind of a challenging one, but many parties, including us, are working on making this possible for you guys as well. Is to actually have a unified view of your customer. This would be across devices, across sessions, even from online to offline. And this is very important because only then you can properly attribute all of your activities to those, to the ultimate purchase. And the second one, and we talked a little bit about it, is to actually make sure that in order to do the proper attribution, that you understand what the behavior is of the consumer. How did they get to their purchase decision? And you've got to acknowledge that most of them, again, we've seen that more than half of them don't do it in the first session. In fact, there's only 23% that does it in the first 24 hours. And then about half of them within, say, 3 weeks. So that actually means there's another half that it even takes longer. And this is where the opportunity is. It's very complex, very sophisticated, but if you crack that, very helpful. So one of the advices that I have is try to figure out for your clients, what does the journey look like? We're very much engaged with travel, as you probably know, and typically in travel it's up to 90 days that the decision making takes place. But it also means that you have 90 days of opportunities of reaching that customer. And this is new. You have that mindset, and actually from a problem you turn it into an opportunity. So how do you go about that? First one is simply accurate tracking. You have to start with that. And as I said, it's not so simple if it's across devices. It's definitely not simple if it's from devices taking it in the offline world as well, in actual physical locations. But it's key to success. Second one is attribution modeling. But not stop there, also go into testing. So you'll have your hypothesis, you actually want to test them, and continue to test them, and continue to improve. And then the last one, even more sophisticated, is actually real-time optimization. And the whole industry is obviously building platforms and tools to get to that stage as well. And there's a lot of focus from Google in that area. So to summarize, I realize I'm really quickly. To summarize, all screens, be brilliant on all screens, incredibly important. Always open, make sure that you have good, efficient campaigns that are there when your consumers are there. Audience engaged, you want to just have really great messages for the right people at the right time so that they get engaged and click. And then last, but very importantly, attribute and measure. This will help you to have lower and lower costs. That's my story, that's my advice.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience?